Hello and welcome to From the Rabbi's Bookshelves. I'm Rabbi Elton from the Great Synagogue in Sydney. My volume today is a collection of biographies. It's part of what's known as the Jewish Library, which was edited over many years by Rabbi Dr Leo Jung, who was a rabbi in New York at the Jewish Center in Manhattan for 6 decades, I think, and was one of the leading lights of modern Orthodoxy, really founds modern Orthodoxy in the 20th century, finally passes away in the 1980s after a very long career. A very distinguished educational background, taught in Cambridge University and by Rav Kook, the great Zionist leader, and in the Hildesheimer Seminary in Berlin. Just an extraordinarily accomplished and highly educated individual and a great communal leader as well. And he sees the need to really educate the Jewish public, both Orthodox and not Orthodox, about all aspects of Jewish life, and including this Jewish library, which covers a whole variety and range of themes, are 3 volumes of biography. And these volumes are very important for many reasons, and for me the most important reason is that they include figures who are otherwise not well covered in the literature. So the very famous figures like the Vilna Gaon and Rav Kook and the Baal Shem Tov, these are persons who are going to be described in all the major books of history and biography which treat of rabbinic figures. But there's a whole range of other figures which Leo Jung was aware of, the important rabbis of Western Europe in particular, in the late 19th and early 20th century, which have been forgotten largely by the Jewish public and by Jewish historians, but they're preserved in these biographies in Leo Jung's volumes. And I want to talk about one, a rabbi called Marcus Horovitz, who was the rabbi of Frankfurt in the late 19th century. Now, Frankfurt is best well known as the city where Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch was the rabbi. If you ask somebody who was the rabbi of Frankfurt in the middle of the late 19th century, they'll say Rav Hirsch was the rabbi. He was very, very well known and still is very influential, a very important founder of Neo-Orthodoxy and German Neo-Orthodoxy in particular. But in fact, Rav Hirsch was the rabbi of what was known as the Auschwitz-Gemeinde, the community which separated itself out entirely from all other Jewish institutions. In Germany, until that point, every synagogue was part of a wider communal body. So one overarching Gemeinde, one overarching communal organization would include within it the Reform Synagogue, the Neolog Synagogue, which we'd now call conservative, or nearest we'd like to conservative, and also the Orthodox. Rav Hirsch took his Kehillah, his community, out of that structure and made them entirely independent. Rav Horowitz was the rabbi of the Orthodox synagogue that stayed within the general community of Frankfurt. And he had a larger congregation than Rav Hirsch, and also he interacted much more with the non-Orthodox population, which was larger than the Orthodox population. So here was a man who was a great scholar, who was a great leader, who was an important rabbinic figure, but was also in regular daily dialogue with the whole range of the community in Frankfurt, and formed a model for how one could be an Orthodox rabbi leading an Orthodox synagogue in a multi-denominational space. A space which, by the way, no longer exists. The big Gemeinde communities, which included all strains of Judaism, were really one of the casualties of the Second World War and the Holocaust. Let me read you an example of how he would navigate and negotiate the tensions that were involved in his position. So Ryeh Horowitz's personal relations with everyone were always kept on an extremely friendly basis. He despised quarrelling. I do not say that we have no courage for strong words. I would rather say we do not have the ability. Nor do the eyes of providence require that ability in a place where truth is found. As to the attacks which arose from the camp of assimilation, these he did not answer with words but with actions. Yet because his pleasant ways served to set an example for all, his arguments held sway even among those who did not agree with his basic attitudes. One example will suffice. The assembly of the Frankfurt Jewish community had decided to erect a Reform synagogue. It handed over the contract to a non-Jewish builder, and after consulting with the rabbinic authorities of the congregation, the assembly gave the builder the right to continue his work on the Sabbath. When informed of this, Ryeh Horowitz notified the heads of the assembly that in truth there was no direct violation of the Sabbath involved, but the public was responsible for sanctifying the Sabbath. The new synagogue, until such time as it was turned over to its new board of directors, remained a communal endeavour, and hence it would not be proper to have construction work done on the Sabbath. The assembly accepted his view with no further discussion. So you have a remarkable eventuality that the Reform Assembly accepts the word and the ruling of the Orthodox rabbi because relations were so good between them, and also the Orthodox rabbi is concerned with the construction of the Reformed synagogue. There is such mutual concern and mutual respect in this story, it should stand an example to all of us who have to work with rabbis and congregations of other denominations. Thank you for joining.